konnichiwa, this is Tina and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down why I personally think that JBeauty is just not quite as popular as KBeauty. If that sounds like your thing, then please go ahead and channel登録しちゃってください。しちゃいなよ。At this point, I am sure you have all heard of JBeauty being Japanese beauty and KBeauty being Korean beauty. Although there are an array of amazing products from both Japanese and Korean beauty, KBeauty just seems to keep hitting the mark and gain more popularity in the global market compared to Japanese beauty. So I am going to be sharing my thoughts on why this is, and honestly, it's probably going to sound like I'm kind of shit-talking JBeauty a little bit. I am going to be including cons and kind of pet peeves that I have towards JBeauty. Once again, these are just my personal opinions, being a J and K beauty enthusiast, if you will. I haven't put like hours and hours into like specific market research and whatnot. These are literally just things that I thought are what's holding JBeauty back. Number one is lack of global and international presence. Anyone who lives outside of Japan will agree to this, but it is just so hard to get Japanese products outside of Japan. These days, there are so many online retailers that sell KBeauty, and even if they're a non-Korean site, they will often have a specific page dedicated to KBeauty. For example, I was shopping on iHerb Australia the other day, and there is like a tab for KBeauty, as well as a lot of physical stores having kind of KBeauty sections, but you just don't see it as much with Japanese beauty. And when you finally find these Japanese products in store or online, they are often marked up quite a bit compared to KBeauty, so it can be a bit discouraging to purchase knowing the original price in Japan. So why doesn't JBeauty push to a more global market? I think it's because they don't want to and don't necessarily need to. Essentially, I feel like Japan has enough customers and consumers within the country that they don't need to spend the extra money to market globally or make it as accessible. So when they do, they tend to mark up the prices, which makes it hard for us international consumers to purchase their products. Number two is that there is way less marketing, especially on SNS. In general, there is just way less online marketing for JBeauty, especially on SNS. KBeauty as well as Western brands rely heavily on marketing on social media, whether it's through like having their own pages or using influencers to market their products, whereas Japan just they just don't do it. They don't do it. They don't even have Instagram accounts. I feel like in today's day and age, if you have a store, a brand, like any business, you have at least an Instagram account, but a lot of Japanese brands don't. I don't know how many times I have gone to tag a Japanese skincare brand in my Instagram story or post, and they literally just don't have one. They don't exist because I guess they don't feel it's necessary. I also noticed from watching some Japanese YouTubers that sponsorships by brands are not that common. They're definitely out there, just not as common, and it's pretty much exclusively with Japanese creators within Japan. Even speaking from personal experience, I have been contacted by a number of Korean brands and companies, and I have worked with them on my channel and pages. Whereas with Japanese companies, like, it is so rare, like so rare. I have only had a handful of Japanese companies contact me, and they're usually not like quite like a beauty company. They're more like a international marketing kind of company versus being like a JBeauty brand. And I can honestly say I think I've only ever worked with one Japanese company like long time ago. I don't think it was even sponsored. Like it was just an exchange of products. So yeah, they just like don't contact or try to market with international creators. As an international creator that wants to talk about JBeauty, it is incredibly hard to get these opportunities. So, 日本の化粧品ブランドの方々以下の私の E メールにご連絡お願いいたします。Number three, not being aligned with trends. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, but compared to KBeauty, JBeauty does not align with or hop on global trends as much. There are still new product launches all the time, but it is usually something new or innovative on the market, or even kind of renewals of pre-existing products. The average Japanese consumer does do their own research, and usually when they find something they like, they tend to stick to it instead of changing to the newest, kind of trendiest product. So I think this is why Japan, again, doesn't need to rely on trends, and also to listen to the consumer's voice and update their existing products with better packaging or better formulas. Although I will say that by not realizing these trends, they tend to lose the virality factor compared to KBeauty or Western brands. Number 4, lack of translation. This is a huge one, I must say. Thanks to a beautiful thing called the internet, it has definitely become so much easier to purchase Japanese products online, with sellers providing translated product info and as well as Google Translate existing. But sometimes this can be inaccurate since the information isn't provided directly by the brand, and a lot of mistranslation can happen in the process as well. Also, have you tried to shop Japanese products in person, like in the store? I know there are a number of you guys who watch my channel who live in Japan and struggle to shop in store for Japanese products because, well, you guys have told me so. But it is so rare for Japanese brands to put English translations on the packaging, so I would understand why it would be so hard to shop if you didn't read Japanese. I think recently some brands have gotten to the point where they write what the product is. For example, Hadarabo now writes hydrating lotion on the label, but that's it. That's literally it. That is on the whole packaging, that's in English. And even when they do write that, the terminology can often be different, like how lotion equals toner or how essence equals serum. So it's still going to be really, really confusing because they don't have an explanation in English. Whereas most KBeauty brands, not all of them, but most of them these days do at least have a simple product explanation, directions of use, and ingredients translated into English. I personally experienced this when I was shopping in person in Korea, and it definitely made it way, way easier to shop because you could actually read some of the product info. So this last point may not directly affect JBeauty's popularity, but it is seriously my #1 pet peeve and hate. Yes, hate is a strong word, but #1 thing that I hate about JBeauty, and it is the absence of expiry and period after opening dates. I have made a video in the past on this topic because people were asking me all of the time, and the reality is it essentially does not exist in Japanese beauty. They do not feel the need or do not have to put expiry dates or period after opening dates on the products, and I just absolutely hate it. I think it is standard practice these days, and you see it all the time on Korean and Western brands. They maximum have the manufacturing date, the expiry date, and then also the period after opening. At minimum, they usually do have the expiry date, and I think this should be, I just feel like it should be done. After some research, it does seem that JBeauty does follow along the same kind of rule of thumb, where they expect the consumer to use up the product within 6 to 12 months. But I feel like they are putting a lot of trust into the consumer to do the right thing, which I feel like we all know doesn't always happen. On that note, another thing is that a lot of Japanese products don't come sealed, which seems crazy because I feel like the kind of health standard and stuff in Japan is very high, and yet like a lot of products won't come sealed. Yes, they do still come sealed oftentimes. For example, this Hadarabo lotion, it is like shrink wrap, has a plastic seal on it. I can definitely say that this has never been used. But there are some products, and I feel like it's really common with tube products in Japan, where you like open it and there's no seal whatsoever. This is a brand new product. I got it recently. I have not used it yet, and that's it. There's no plastic wrapping. There's no seal on the end. There is nothing to say that this hasn't been opened before. So if someone, say, pops this open in the store, has a little sniff, puts it back, like it is no longer 100% kind of airtight and a brand new fresh product. So again, I feel like they're just expecting consumers to not do that and trust them, being like,
we don't need to put on a seal. You guys are not going to do anything with the product. That's fine.
but I'm kind of like, no, that's not fine. Western brands and Korean brands, they'll always put even just a little aluminium seal on the top. I can guarantee you, if I grab out a brand new product from Korea, see, they have this little like aluminium seal on it. So you know it hasn't been opened, it's fresh, but it just doesn't seem to be a thing in Japan, and I hate it. I just can't complain enough about these little pet peeves, so please make a change. And there you have it. They are my reasons to why I believe that JBeauty is not reaching their full potential in the global market. Please let me know with a comment whether you agree with me or if there's any other points to why you think this is. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!